Welcome back. I'm attorney Thomas Burton. I'm an estate planning and asset protection attorney here in Wisconsin. And today's topic is COVID-19 and estate planning. So in the year 2020, I know many of us are getting tired of hearing and dealing with COVID, but it's a big factor in daily lives and going to be an issue here heading through the winter. And this is a topic I wanted to cover in more detail as it relates to your estate planning during COVID-19 and specifically how you can get things done during this time. So I thought of this topic after Monday when I was having a meeting with an older client, and thankfully we were able to set up the meeting via video conference like this. The client was able to stay in their home and there was no risk of transmission of germs. We were able to have a nice long conversation without wearing masks and do it face to face but without being in person. And I have been holding meetings in the conference room with masks on, but sometimes with older clients and even for me, it can be difficult, a little bit difficult to hear because you can't use some of those senses where you're reading the lips as you're listening at the same time. So this video conference worked very well. But towards the end of the meeting, we were discussing possibly if they wanted to change some of their documents, how we would sign them during this time. And the client asked me if we could just do it via video like we were doing the meeting, and they could have me witness them sign the document during another live video meeting. And I said to them, to me that makes sense and I would like to be able to do that, but currently in the state of Wisconsin we do not allow remote witnessing or remote notarization for estate planning documents. So some of you may recall in the spring Wisconsin adopted some emergency rules allowing remote notarization, and I did a video on that topic you can check out. But this legislation was passed before the COVID-19 pandemic, and unfortunately it only applies to certain real estate documents like deeds and other things to allow for remote real estate closings. And while that is useful for real estate transactions, with estate planning being on many people's minds right now, many states are also moving to having a remote witnessing and notarization option for estate planning documents. Of course, there's concerns about we want to balance protecting people from undue influence when signing these documents, but there's other states I feel that have adopted reasonable ways to set rules for this process where you can still do a signing or a witnessing via live video conference, and maybe you send the paper document to the lawyer or notary after to apply the seal, the notary seal, something like that. So today I wanted to talk briefly about the current state of things in Wisconsin, where we still require what's called wet signatures on your estate planning documents. And I just finished up a corporate law matter for a client yesterday, or the past couple days, and in that case we were able to do electronic signatures really easily, sign this corporate document. The shareholders could sign using e-signatures, and it also made me think, I wish I could offer a good option for this right now with estate planning documents. So at my office, what we're doing is we're trying to move as many meetings as possible to either live video consult like this or phone, and then saving the in-person meetings when necessary for signing documents such as an estate planning document. And in Wisconsin, there's really 3 documents that currently we can't sign without the witnesses being present in the room with the people. And those are a last will and testament, a healthcare power of attorney, or a living will, what's called an advance healthcare directive. So if you watch some of my other videos, I recommend everyone have name a healthcare agent, the power of attorney for healthcare. And this is one of those documents that the statutes talk about having the witness in the conscious presence of the person signing. So I've got the statutes here, Chapter 155 on healthcare documents. And if we go to 155.30 sub B, it says, signed in the presence of two witnesses who meet the requirements of sub 2, and it's someone who's attained the age of 18, and they have to, the person making it signs at the express direction in the presence of the two witnesses. Signed in the presence of two witnesses. So here they use the word presence. Signed in the presence. And then we go to the living will document, and it says it must be signed by the declarant in the presence of two witnesses. That's Wisconsin Statute 154. And then the will, the document disposing of your property, we go to 853.03 execution of wills, and you'll see here it says the testator's conscious presence. Now that's, the testator is the person who makes the will. The conscious presence of the testator. So that's this word using conscious presence. So basically, as estate planners, the real property and probate section applied to the Supreme Court in early spring for an emergency order that would allow remote witnessing of these documents. But unfortunately, in May, the Supreme Court turned down that petition. And they had, this is a section of the state bar that deals with real property probate issues, and they had put several proposed safeguards in the order. But the Supreme Court turned it down in a brief denial and said that even with the safeguards proposed, deciding whether the statutes would allow remote witnessing is a complicated task, better undertaken in the context of a case or controversy than in an emergency request for temporary guidance. So basically, the court said they were unwilling to use their rulemaking powers to issue this, and they would have to see it come up in a court case. And what I feel that means is it's sort of, some of estate planning law is based on case law, so a case has to be brought before the court will look at an issue, and so it's possible from this crisis someone will attempt to sign a document via video technology, but the court is saying they prefer to decide it as an actual case, meaning a litigation over the issue at this point. So the other option I see would be for the legislature and the governor to act and adopt a new law allowing for remote witnessing. And I'm hoping that's what happens in the future. And if it's important to you, I suggest you bring it up with your local legislator. So the current state of affairs in Wisconsin is we have those three documents that really require wet signatures. And not everyone chooses to do a living will and a healthcare power of attorney. But let's say for sure you want to get your will done. At my office, what we're doing is if you need to sign that, we can either do a drive-through signing where you stay in the car and we witness you do it through the glass, or we can do it in the office conference room with the masks on, and we keep it as brief as possible. But for a lot of my other meetings, what I'm finding is this live video is working very well, and that allows us not to have to be rushed through the meeting, because I don't like to rush clients when they're thinking about their planning. But the live video, the two meetings I had in the last 2 days, they were able to go, one was 2 hours, one was an hour and a half, and we didn't feel rushed. And again, we weren't in that close contact in terms of increasing the risk of germ transmission. So if you're looking at doing estate planning with an attorney, no matter what state you're in, I would see about whether they can do a virtual meeting with you for your first meeting. And phone is also an option, but what I find is it's nice to have this face-to-face interaction because there's certain nonverbal cues you lose over the phone. But when you're having a video meeting like this, you can see when the other person's talking, and then you can wait to talk and take your turns like you would in a normal face-to-face meeting. And that's what I always enjoyed about the face-to-face meeting, is you get to have a good time and laugh, and it's enjoyable, and there aren't those awkward pauses like can occur sometimes on the phone. So that's the current state of affairs for your estate planning in Wisconsin. If you're watching across the country, check with your local jurisdiction, because like I said, some states, in fact, I have a lawyer friend in Maryland who said they had adopted, and I think it was prior to the crisis, a way to do some remote notarization even for estate planning documents. Now, as a reminder, in Wisconsin, the statutes allow us to create a trust without witnesses. We simply need the signature of the person creating it, the trustor. So that's an option. We can bypass probate and use trust planning for you. And in addition, a power of attorney, a financial power of attorney, can be adopted with just the signature of the person making the document. So there's lots of options to get documents in place. And real estate documents now, there's ways to do remote notary, and there's ways I can witness your signature for purposes of a deed, authenticated deed we call it. Only a licensed attorney can do this in Wisconsin. So if you're thinking about doing some estate planning during the crisis, don't be deterred from beginning. Just look for ways to do it in a safe, socially distanced way. And I know a lot of lawyers are offering the remote meetings, and I want to encourage folks to take advantage of that option. And one last thing I'll mention for today's video is this summer, thinking about ways to make the remote meeting easier, I've got a new option at my office where I bought a 8-inch tablet, and I got this special case for it. Here you'll see it's just an Android tablet with the camera up top, and then it folds into a triangle shape here, and I'm making it available starting now, this coming month, starting here the last couple days of October and November, to any client who wants to have a video meeting with me. If you don't have a video conferencing device, like many older people sometimes don't have a smartphone with a camera built in, I can mail you this device via mail. I'll send it priority mail, padded envelope, and we just need to set it up a couple weeks in advance so you can get the device via mail. And then inside I have printed instructions that show you exactly, couple pages, step by step, turn it on, connect to Wi-Fi, and your meeting will be pre-set up on the pad, so you just log in at the time given for your appointment. So if you're watching this, a friend or loved one, that's an option now with my office, and we just ask that you schedule it ahead so we have time to get the tablet to you. And I would encourage you to explore options like that. The only thing you need on your end is an internet connection or a mobile device that can throw off a mobile hotspot internet connection. So I'm trying to make the video meetings as easy as possible, and even expand the reach to those who might not traditionally have them. And right now I know many nursing homes and senior care facilities are still closed to visitors. So this is a way we can also get a device inside for a video meeting without the risk of any person-to-person germ contact. So again, I wanted to talk about COVID-19 estate planning, the current state of affairs. Don't be deterred from meeting with an attorney and getting the process going, but hopefully this video helps you think about steps you can take to do it in a safe and socially distanced way and still complete your planning during the COVID-19 pandemic. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.